Hello, can you tell me your name, where do you live, and what is your profession?
Yes, Miss Kiu Yang, I would be more than happy to tell you about my name. I am called Anh Dao T. Nguyen. I live in New Orleans 2 years before the oil spill, the BP oil spill, and my profession is in real estate, and I am also the coordinator for SEFA. SEFA is a very new association, and it stands for Southeast Asian Fisherfolk Association. It was created a year and a half after BP because there was not a voice or a well-deserved representation for all the Asian fisherfolk. So its main purpose is to represent, to be the voice for the Asian fisherfolk in New Orleans.
But how many member of Asian fishermen folk in New Orleans in general, and how many of them are in your organization right now?
Right now, we have throughout Louisiana, we have at least 3,000 fisherfolk, Asians. That includes Cambodians, Vietnamese, Laotians, and Thais. Since the inception of SEFA a year and a half, we have about 100 to 110, and that comprises of different nationalities: Cambodians, Thais, Laotians, and Vietnamese. Vietnamese and Cambodians make up the biggest group. Vietnamese is the biggest, second follows by Cambodians. So all the languages that we have used for the meetings has been Vietnamese and also English.
By working very close to fishermen folk, what is their most need right now?
The pressing need right now, as of today, is the request that we have made in front of Judge Sarah Vance in the hearing between BP and the U.S. government, the United States Department of Justice. The pressing needs would be we're asking BP to reopen and reevaluate the releases and the covenant not to sue that was signed back in the early days of the incident during the period of GCCF under the administration of Mr. Kenneth Feinberg. We request, due to that, releases or the signed releases or the waiver not to sue BP, most of those fishermen have not been entitled to the compensation that was awarded to the fisherfolk, the tourism and also the seafood compensation program. Those people have been excluded from those two compensation programs.
You mean that there's group from Southeast Asian fishermen were not included in BP recovery or considered reward money after the oil spill? Was that really happen?
SEFA is an organization, is a non-profit organization. We advocate on their behalf. We do not receive compensation from BP, but we advocate on the fishermen's behalf to receive so that they can be compensated adequately and justly. The compensation since the oil spill have been distributed, have been paid to 60% of the people that submit their claims. But right now we still have 40% of those claimants that have not received adequate and justified compensations. Some have not received anything, and some have not received it adequately or justified because of the amount of money that they have been put into their boats, into their vessels in order to make it work, in order to earn a decent living.
Well, you mentioned about 40% of fishermen that have not been compensated adequately or not at all. Can you tell how many fishermen was affected by the oil spill? Or can you tell?
Right now in Louisiana alone, we have, in terms of commercial fishermen, we have about 3,000. and only 10% of those commercial fishermen actually speak English. So that's why SEFA plays a very important role, that we can advocate on their behalf. And due to the language barrier and not receiving the information on a timely basis, so therefore the 40% has not been adequately compensated or justified. So if you take 40% out of 3,000, that will be about 1,200 people that have not been compensated.
Most of them, the fishermen who were affected by the oil spill, would they come back to their old profession, become a fisherman again, or they quit? How's that go?
Right now, most of the fishermen, because most of the fishermen, they don't have other employment choices. They don't have choices in other type of employment. They have very specific sets of skills, and some of them were born into the professions. So even though with the BP scale incident, the reduction in catch or the volume of fish caught, either you be a shrimper, crabbers, oyster harvester, or a tuna fisherman, the catch is low, so therefore your revenue is low. And it's happening since 2010, especially for the longliners. The whole year, from 6 to 8 months after the incident, they were not able to fish at all for those durations, because the fishing grounds were off limits. And also the incident of the oil spill happened exactly where they fished in terms of the longliners. So they were off. That fishing ground was closed for 6 to 8 months. So those people, that alone did not get any income or revenues for the whole duration. And once they were allowed to go back to fishing, meaning that the grounds were got reopened, they did not fish, they did not have a very good revenue, because the people, the consumers, were afraid that those fish caught were contaminated with the oil. So therefore the selling of those fish caught was not that great.
How do you incorporate that into the loss of the fishermen when you're talking about the fish, shrimp in the ocean to catch, and because of the consumer not continue to have their faith into the product from Louisiana? How do you incorporate that in the loss?
We incorporate that in the laws by means of BP promoting or advertising to the world or to the rest of the country, saying that the fishing ground have been cleaned, they are contamination free. But the fishermen themselves, they did not see that. So the concrete evidence that they saw or that they've been seeing is the data or the amount of fish that they could sell at the landing to the fish dealers. It has been less and less. And also they have seen mutations or lesions, abnormalities within the fish. There were shrimps that have no eyes, and fish like, for example, the red snappers. They are red snappers. Healthy red snappers do not have black stripes, but some of them, after the oil spill, got black stripes. And the oil spill, scientifically proven that the oil spill, the oil contaminated, interfere with the reproductive system of the fish. So for the first year, after the grounds were reopened, they were able to fish because there was a long absence of fishing. So the catch was high, but after that catch was gone, you don't see young fish being born. You don't see baby fish being born because the reproductive system was already affected by the oil.
Wow. Lead for fishermen folk, Asian fishermen folk.
The SEFA has done quite a few things, bringing the information to the fisher folk regardless of the language barrier. We have invited a lawyer from Mississippi who used to work for the Mississippi Center of Justice His name was Diệp Thế Lâm, and he was able to explain the whole process in Vietnamese. But the one thing that I believe that make the strongest point or the most powerful point so far is our speaking at the hearing between BP and the U.S. Department of Justice. We were able to speak for 5 minutes, but we also have members, Cambodians, Vietnamese, who did not understand English well, but they still wanted to go and went and sat side to side with the rest of the rest of the people that went to that attended the hearings, such as the attorneys, the officials of BP, the officials of U.S. Department of Justice, and other people that were interested in the hearing, in the outcome of the hearing. It was one of the BP plea bargain. It was a criminal cases. There were 45 of us that came to hear the hearing, to attend the hearing. And that was a biggest impact that we have ever done. And as a coordinator for SEFA, I have to say I was really proud that we were able to attend and be present to tell everyone that regardless of the language, we are just as concerned as the next person that sits next to us, even though we don't speak English, but we are just as concerned and we want to be well represented. We deserve it.
Well, you're not a fisherman, and then what drive you into this?
Oh, life is a funny thing. When I first relocated to New Orleans, working with the fishermen was never part of my plan in relocating to New Orleans. It was more like reuniting with my family, coming back to where I went to school, went to college. Working with the fishermen I never thought of working with the fishermen. When the BP incident happened, and I saw so many social injustice done to these fishermen, and we Asian fishermen in Louisiana alone, we make up more than 50% of the workforce. And I know because of the language, we do not get paid accordingly or adequately, even before the oil spill. So when the oil spill happened, and I followed the whole process, and I thought that was really unfair and unjust. And it just fell on my lap, actually. It's funny, things you could never plan for things that happen in your life. You just go with the flow. And I'm very happy that I can play a part in this.
Wonderful. Do you want to share anything that I didn't ask you yet?
I'd like to share the two topics, or the three topics that we covered, that we spoke at the hearing. The criminal case against BP and the United States Department of Justice. We brought up the issue and we asked BP to reevaluate the releases and the covenant not to sue BP. It was unfairly done. It was very unfair. It was done, and the people who signed it, they signed it because they needed the money to survive right away, not to wait for another 6 months or so to get reimbursed or to be compensated. So in one word, they signed those releases under extreme financial duress, and also the unethical claim processing that the GCCF has placed was carrying out at that particular time. And in that 5-minute speech, we also came up with 3 solutions. One solution was that to reopen the releases and to re-examine the covenant not to sue. The second solution is sustainability of the seafood industry, because the Asian fishermen play more than 50% of the workforce, and we want to expand. We want to help with the sustainability of the Louisiana seafood, and also to be part of the development, given the fact that the condition of the ocean will never be the same now that the BP incident has happened. And in order to implement the second solution, sustainability or sustainable development of the seafood in Louisiana, we need to have access to capitals, to create jobs, to maintain jobs, to expand business, and to retain jobs.
Well, thank you very much for your time and your contribution into the journey of freedom of Vietnamese American, because New Orleans has such a large number of Vietnamese American, especially the fishermen folk that you are working in advocate to. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kiu Yang. And before I end the interview, I'd like to add one more thing.
Yeah.
At that speech, at the end of the speech, we asked the judge and the U.S. Department of Justice not to grant the plea bargain to BP because it was a criminal cases. But unfortunately, the judge has accepted their plea bargain. So even though we did not win, but in fact, we were happy that we were able to be part of that hearing.
And then at least we will be heard.
Yes, now we have a chance to be heard. And I'd like to submit the letter from the Department of Justice to you as proof that we have been recognized and that the Vietnamese and the Asians have bravely attended the hearing even though there was a language barrier.
Oh, thank you very much for your document. It will be very valuable to our project. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.